with his money to potentially do what they did last time or do it again with more success. I want to bring in Ty Cobb, who, as mentioned, was a White House attorney in the first Trump administration. And Ty, this is serious. Jamie Raskin says this. It's an effort to refund what he calls a January 6th militia, and he says presumably to get them ready for the next round of battle. That's a serious allegation or concern against the sitting president, but do you think it's a fair concern?
Well, I think it's a very fair concern. I think Jamie Raskin is really a voice that, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when people look back at this time in history, people will point to his courage and his and the accuracy of his observations. But yes, this is intended to basically give Trump, $1.7 billion on top of either the $9 billion that Ted Lieu has a chart that he uses in Congress frequently to demonstrate how much Trump has looted America over the last 18 months, or the $4 billion that the New York Times and the New Yorker use as a figure of Trump's looting, to basically facilitate the illegal aims and the rewards that he intends for his people. Seriously, the potential uses of this slush fund are intended to be, as currently fashioned, totally opaque, not reviewable, not something that the American people are going to see or understand. It's completely illegal and absurd. Keep in mind, this is the case against the IRS is a completely fabricated vehicle for Trump to try to loot the Treasury. It's barred by the 2-year statute of limitation. The statute involved only allows $1,000 per disclosure, per illegal disclosure. There's an argument that there may have been, somewhere between 1 and 10 disclosures. There's no argument that supports the 10,000 or more disclosures that would be necessary to get him to $10 billion, which is what he's demanded. So it's really absurd. You've got a judge who, when assessing the case, had very serious concerns about whether there's any adversity here. This is Trump negotiating with himself.
That they're not. That it's not a real case.
It's not a real case. I mean, he himself has admitted that he's negotiating with himself. That's true. That's not a case of controversy, and there's no basis for an award here. The Justice Department has vigorous defenses. Last night, the amici curiae, the lawyers that the court had reached out to for guidance on whether this was really a case in controversy, filed their brief, making it plain that there was substantial reason to doubt that this case could be fairly adjudicated between the two parties, because there really is no case or controversy, and the court should ask some, piercing questions. Clearly, in the case, they point to the fact that Pam Bondi directed her Justice Department to be loyal to Trump, not to the Constitution. Trump issued an executive order directing all government lawyers, all government personnel, government-wide, preventing them from taking positions that were contrary to his opinion about the law. Now, his opinion about the law is he's entitled to anything he wants, and the Justice Department is falling into line. Todd Blanche, who was cautioned early on in the administration about the necessity of recusing himself from most things related to Trump because of his personal appearance on Trump's behalf, previously in many of the criminal cases that Trump had, including the 34 felonies that he was convicted of while Blanche was his lawyer, was urged to recuse himself in connection with those matters. But he's now the primary deal maker for the Justice Department, doing all things that Trump wants. So, with Blanche as a co-conspirator, it's pretty clear there is no case or controversy here, and that it really is Trump just looting the government.
Right, looting the government, self-dealing, taking money from the taxpayers, which is bad enough and could be investigated. Indeed, If it's attached to other allegations, it's the type of thing that a Congress could impeach and hold a trial on and review the evidence. And if they refuse to participate, well, you can hold that against them, because a Senate trial, which would be an option if the Democrats win back the midterms, that trial then deals with the government you have. And if you have a government that is basically unlawful and resisting, then you take the evidence as it is and you make that choice. And then you add to that this looming threat of them trying to fund and incentivize future potential violence to overthrow the elections. I mean, a lot of this is out in the open. Ty, I want to turn to another piece. So Ty stays with us. I'm going to give folks the facts. There's new ethics filings that show, because some of the system does still work, they are required to release this, and they did, that Trump has been trading heavily in the stock market, disclosing hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions, including in major companies. That includes securities and stocks in the tech space that obviously are involved with AI and other big ticket items that Trump oversees. Microsoft, which has a big stake in ChatGPT and OpenAI, they're in court this week as well on another issue. Facebook, Meta, Oracle, big purchases of Apple and Nvidia. These companies have CEOs who also are very close with Trump. They've accompanied him to China, and you can see others there. And to be fair, there are other administrations that have tried to build business alliances, advocate for U.S. commerce abroad. The financial forms, though, show the timing of what Trump is doing, that he or his people on his behalf, but under his name and money, seem to be pretty actively trading. You can see here, NVIDIA, that's kind of the big chip that's powering all this AI. You can see that purchase. You can see, of course, Tim Cook and others are very much involved with Trump this year. The financial forms show that he purchased that on February 10th. That was actually 8 days before the company announced a big deal with Meta. Now, we don't know from the documents whether that's one of those many coincidences or whether all of these meetings and discussions give a clue. No one's alleging insider trading here, but a clue in terms of access, of mood, of information that, hey, this is a good time to buy or not. Trump also touted AI software maker Palantir on Truth Social, meaning he's using his public platform, which is mixed with the fact that he's the president, to promote a stock that he purchased. On top of all that, Trump continues to operate through himself and his family, crypto and other business ventures to a degree we have never seen from a modern president. Ty Cobb, do you view this as aggressive, poor judgment, but ultimately legal, so it's okay? Or do you view what we know, combined with the other corruption allegations against the administration, as something that should concern Americans about whether this actually goes farther and undermines our administration, our trust in it?
Well, I think it does go farther, and I do view it as, intensely criminal. It's not legal at all. It's never been done by another president. There's never been a president who has had the wholesale absence of frontal lobe control and impulse control to avoid the kind of corruption that Trump does on a daily basis, highlighted most recently by the $1.7 billion effort. But yeah, these stock purchases are highly irregular. Rarely in history has a president, done anything remotely similar.
Can I slow you down on that point, Todd?
Sure.
Because you're an expert. You've been a White House lawyer. Most people haven't done that. You're reminding everyone that we don't usually have presidents actively trading in individual stocks just because they wouldn't even want to go near the conflict that when they're meeting with CEOs, which of course they may do, that there could be a conflict where their personal interest is against the public interest.
No, that's exactly right. And let's go back to the $1.7 trillion case or $1 billion case that we were talking about, the tax thing, which we don't have cases like that either, because historically every president has disclosed their tax returns voluntarily. Trump is upset because he tried to hide everything, largely because it's full of the false valuations, the fabricated losses that got him convicted of 34 felonies in New York. So he tried to hide all that. It came out in portions, and from a subcontractor to the IRS, not from the IRS directly, but from a subcontractor to the IRS, which is a defense that is available in that case. And the same thing is true in the stock things. Usually you have blind trust. Usually you have, total distance between a president's purchase and sale decisions, that he typically does not make it. It's handled by either a trustee or, family members or people that, are not directed by him to make purchases. And the timing of these things, as you point out, is there are no coincidences when it comes to Trump, Ari. There are no coincidences. So when Trump buys a stock and then promotes it, when Trump buys a stock and promotes it, that's design.
I'm only jumping in to say, and I'm only jumping in to say we value you for your expertise. So you're free to say that. That's your view. The government can respond. In the news, we do more than coincidence, right? So I'm careful to say that. Go ahead.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I'm just saying there really are no coincidences. When Trump says I'm negotiating with myself, what he means is I'm going to take what I want. When Trump goes to China to get a deal for Boeing to purchase 800 to 1,000 planes, leaves without a commitment and says it was a great deal, and they're going to have a bunch of disclosures about wonderful trade deals, and the farmers are going to be happy, notwithstanding the fact that under the last year in the Biden administration, they sold $27 billion worth of soybeans to China. Last year they sold 14. This year they're going to be lucky to sell 7. He's ruined the markets because of his crazy tariff stuff, and the fact that we're shedding allies at a rate never before seen in American history. But he will continue to fabricate the status of those.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep you. You mentioned fitness. I want to ask you about his mental fitness when we're back with Ty in just 90 seconds.
Wow, sounds to me like embezzlement, inside trading, conflict of interest. Sounds to me like just a crooked way of going about getting rich. Now that's from what I gathered out of it. You may gather something else out of it. But like they said, none other president has done like he's doing. And he's doing it in plain view. That way it makes it look more appropriate. Well, just because it's done in plain view don't mean that it's appropriate. Don't mean that it's right. So, to have people that's starving, to have people that's sacrificing in heat and cooling bills versus medicine, to have what that they have done towards trimming here and trimming there with a chainsaw and cutting here and cutting there, it's appalling. It's appalling that the American people hadn't stood up against this type of abuse, that it's obvious that this guy pretty much so makes his own rules and regulations. And of course, if you violate those rules and regulations, if you're any predominant person at all, he's going to try to step on your character. Let's go back to the news here.
Fitness, on how awake he is, and on what many see as late-night erratic behavior. He dozed off, apparently, during this meeting. You can judge for yourself since you see what's there, but that's gotten a lot of response. His late-night rants are drawing scrutiny, and the gaffes where he does seem to be rambling.
Are you concerned about the president's mental well-being?
Oh, 100%. I don't know how anyone can see what he posts or watch him in any meeting and think that he's fit for office.
We have strategic ambiguity. His is just all over the place. It's confrontational, it's inconsistent, it's erratic.
I don't trust that man to be able to cognitively make a complete sentence, let alone negotiate with China.
I think he's seriously ill. I think Trump needs medical attention, and there needs to be an intervention.
That's some of the response in Congress where we see this is a mainstream issue, as it was raised at times for the last president. Ty, your view?
No, it's not just my view. In 2017, Bandy Lee, a well-respected psychological professional, trained at Harvard and Yale, and highly regarded at the National Institute of Mental Health, and 26 of her colleagues and other respected psychiatrists around the world posted a lengthy journal article commenting on Trump's malignant narcissism and the appearance of early frontal lobe dementia. The symptoms have only gotten worse. They are remarkable at this stage of the game, and the wake-sleep reversal is a very common symptom highlighted by mental health professionals when discussing Trump's cognitive decline. The fact that he's up late texting about excrement, putting memes out of Democrats in the reflecting pool, which I see behind you when it was still a reflecting pool, and in your graphic there, before he has changed it. The reality is, what he does late at night causes him to sleep during the day. And that is a very well-known symptom of cognitive decline, frontal lobe dementia, Alzheimer's, and because he has no impulse control left, he is guided solely by his malignant narcissism, which everybody has recognized for years, and he practices only vengeance and greed now. Everything he does is about revenge and looting the government for his benefit.
Yeah, it's striking, and you mentioned the late night posts. Any public official, you could be a CEO of a company. If you posted 30 times at night, people would say what's going on. And if you posted the hate and the bile and the misinformation that you mentioned, you might be on review or removed by your board the next day. And we're in this strange moment where we talk about it, but there hasn't been consequences. Ty, on more than one topic tonight, thank you so much.
Always a pleasure to be with you. Have a great weekend.
You too, sir. Appreciate it. We're going to fit a break. When we come back, I have one of my breakdowns on why Trump's gaffe, admitting he doesn't care about what's going on in the American economy, is haunting them in the midterms, and Checo Manduri as well, coming up tonight.
Well, that man just said a mouthful pertaining to analyzing our chief and commander. And I've heard other people bring up similar facts regarding how that he gets up and he goes on a rampage at 2 o'clock in the morning towards tweaking, and that's only part of it. The other part is a lot of times he'll contradict himself. He'll say one thing that means this, and people will start going in that direction, and then a few hours later or a day later, he'll contradict that. That's a sign of instability. That's a sign of somebody that's full of themselves, greed and selfishness, and could care less about the needs and the wants and the hurts of the American people right now. We realize that nobody wants fraud, but that includes the officials that stand above us. Nobody wants fraud. And whenever you see it right and open, comparing apples to oranges, like I said, they think if they do it in plain view, that for some reason or another, it's right. Well, it ain't right, even if it is done in plain view. To have all these scorecards to know what certain stock is going to do, when it's going to rise, when it's going to fall, what you're promoting out there, what you ain't promoting out there. I mean, it's a game, and it's a very, very greedy, selfish, self-motivated game that whenever the chief and commander goes down, it's going to make a whole lot of people look bad that's going to go down with it. I hate to say that, because all in all, I think that he's been trying to do the right things, but while he's been trying to do the right things, he's been mixing a little bit of business with pleasure. The pleasure of him getting his cream off the top. I'll put it that way, the cream off the top. Whenever I hear people that's made a good living here in America, and they go out and they get their pass to be able to leave America, and then they make statements such as, well, if it turns into a bloodbath over here, why do I want to stay over here and defend what I got? I'll just get on an airplane and go to another part of the world until it all ends. To me, that is selfishly being a traitor to your own people, and how that you've done what you've done. You've stayed over here. You've got the cream off the top, and now because things may turn sour, well, you're going to cut and run. How many companies have we seen do that? Cut and run. The American people has been bamboozled. The American people has been robbed. The American people has been stabbed in the back by various political parties, regardless whether it was one or the other, going all the way back 40 years ago. The American people, you do not get in the situation we're in towards being almost $40 trillion in debt and think that something isn't up. You would absolutely have to be blind in one eye, not being able to see out of the other, to think that this is normal. It's very the opposite of being normal.
Voters upset. You see it in polling and in moments like this.
Robert, Cleveland, Ohio, Republican. You're on Open Forum.
Well, I'd like to first say I apologize to all of America and all of Americans. I was a diehard Republican. I cannot believe I drank the Kool-Aid, okay? I am guilty. I drank the Kool-Aid of Donald J. Trump. This man is ruining the Constitution of the United States. If you see all the corruption, the billions of dollars that the Trump family is grabbing, and he says it's never about the money. It's all about the money, the lies, the lies, the lies.
Lies, money, and the corruption reports, all of this may be accruing. The caller's not alone. 55% of Republicans blame Trump for these high prices. The war has really crystallized the issue. Oil is up. Fox News says Trump has now given this political gift to Democrats in a gaffe that has not gone away. This is a president who claims he can say and do almost anything, but admitting on camera he doesn't think about America's finances right now has not aged well at all.
Mr. President, to what extent are American financial situations motivating you to make changes?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about American financial situation. I don't think about anybody.
Yeah, that's the problem. Indeed, that is exactly what Democrats want to prove and show going into the midterm, so having Trump admitting it in real time may help them. This kind of moment that crystallizes something tends to pop. It's the kind of out-of-touch moment that nowadays we say it might go viral online. In the old days, we would just say it became something larger than a story or a moment in the news cycle. It can haunt a politician to their political core.
He was skewered for seeming out of touch at a grocer's convention. He marveled at new technology that could read a shredded barcode.
Just like that.
The New York Times said he didn't know how an ordinary checkout counter worked.
I think still the fundamentals of our economy are strong.
Well, you've been attacked, obviously, for saying the fundamentals of this economy are, the fundamentals are strong. There's an ad out this morning.
There are 47% of the people who vote for the president on Trump. All right, there are 47% who are with him, who are dependent on government, who believe that they're victims.
It's a political earthquake in the presidential race, and the Romney campaign is in full-on damage control.
Admitting that you don't understand what people are going through in the economy, or that you think 47%, over 100 million Americans, are just victims on the dole, or when people were suffering in a crash and McCain said everything's basically fine and strong, these things define them. Republican strategist Karl Rove warns that Republicans will lose seats in the midterms because of that dreaded word in American politics, malaise. It's a reference to Jimmy Carter, who also, like Trump, was very unpopular once people got a load of what his governing looked like against economic problems. That notorious malaise speech is taught in campaigns and political science classes as what not to do. Carter didn't even actually use that word.
The symptoms of this crisis of the American spirit are all around us. For the first time in the history of our country, a majority of our people believe that the next 5 years will be worse than the past 5 years.
Trying to push or lie people into thinking that the economy that you oversee is better than it actually is has often failed. Telling people you don't even care and aren't thinking about it is probably worse. Our friend, Cheiko Manduri, Obama veteran, says that Trump has a Carter problem. We'll be right back together.
There's no doubt they all got problems when it comes to being selfish and being unreliable. There's no doubt we've all been sold out pertaining to the labor force, the workforce here, whenever it comes to them getting the cart in front of the horse and start competing with the internet in getting goods from all over the world, and basically leaving our labor force communities disarray. I think whenever Donald Trump run the first time, he said that over 90,000 factories had shut down. Today, you can probably add another 20,000 factories or mama papa businesses pertaining to restaurants and farming community. And whenever it comes to the foreclosure movement towards people buying right now on credit cards, high amount of credit cards, it's all a scam. And it starts at the top towards people getting what they want, and then it's pushed down to the consumer, and the consumer sacrificing on account of these rich people, on account of these conglomerates. They done it in the late 70s, early 80s. I've seen farm after farm get taken away because they raised the price of fuel and they raised the price of interest, and the next thing you know, people couldn't fit the bill. Well, who comes out on top whenever stuff like that happens? The rich people do, because they're steadily taken from the poor, pertaining to the has-is versus the has-nots. And I guarantee you, the has-is intends to keep what they already have, and to actually take what you may have or what you could have. They're going to take that from you. The whole thing is set up on a very, very evil, wicked type deal, to the point that we have families right now that are being kicked out of their homes. We have people right now that are begging to want to get fentanyl so that they can OD and basically commit suicide. We have people right now that has tried to struggle and being loyal to their employer, and now they don't know which way to turn. It has been a complete failure of the Republican Party, of our republic. And at the end of the day, like that guy was talking, I hope that 10 years from now, people will be able to evaluate some of my work and say, well, you know what, this guy was right all the time. He predicted this was going to happen. He predicted that was going to happen. He went and tried to help them out over here by giving out warnings and advisories, and they thought it was threats. He went to Atlanta and basically shut down the Calvary a day after Christmas and sending a cassette tape to Sonny Perdue, and they took it all out of proportion, and the next thing you know, GBI comes and investigates me at my workplace and accuses me towards how much money that I've costed the people in Atlanta, that I'm sure it wasn't just over one day extra pay, people getting paid federal and state pay, but I'm pretty sure it had to do with the droughts and stuff going on that even to this day they're still facing. I thought that they put a handle on that. I thought that they gained control over that situation, and that they was going to dig like a canal, something like a whatever they call it up around Pickwick, that basically starts at Pickwick and goes all the way down to the Gulf, to where you can bring in an extra water supply like that. I mean, whenever you're trying to supply water to almost 6 million people in the dead summertime, and all your water reservoirs is drying up, you got a problem. You got a severe problem. And these droughts that's happening, pertaining to these El Niños, pertaining to the earth warming up from the inside out, it's not getting better. It's only getting worse. Just like Lake Mead over by the Hoover Dam, just like a big lake over in Texas, just like other areas that basically we've had dimension of H2O pertaining to lack of. And whenever they look at the rainfall, you know, it can rain 10 inches tonight. But because the wind is so extreme, and because the heat coming off the planet is so extreme, it don't matter if you get 10 inches or not. It's still gonna run the well dry. It's still the ponds and watersheds and lake fronts and stuff like that are still going to deplete. And whenever this happens, you're going to see a depletion of the ecosystem, from the little bitty fish to the big fish to everything else suffer, including the people.
Do you see this as a gap that actually will extend into the midterms?
Yes. I mean, if you think about this, Michael Kinsley said a gaffe is when a politician accidentally tells the truth. And what happened here was that Donald Trump actually told the truth. He doesn't care about Americans' financial situations.
That's right.
He cares about his own financial situation.
That's right.
You can see how much money he's made in office. He cares about his ballroom. He talks about it incessantly, even in that clip. He talks about his triumphal arch. He posts pictures of himself on Mount Rushmore. He cares about his golden statue down in Mar-a-Lago. Those are all things that Donald Trump cares about. He doesn't care about the American people. And I think that what's important about this is that this is a key strength for Donald Trump and the Republican Party, the economy. Ever since the Great Recession, Republicans have had a superior advantage to Democrats on the economy. Trump has compounded that advantage because people do buy into that whole apprentice persona of him as the great businessman who can make deals, who can get the economy revving. And he did inherit a really good economy from Barack Obama, and then incessantly praised himself for stewarding it. That all helped. This particular gap, if you want to call it that, this particular truth that Trump uttered, goes right to his core strength and can turn it into weakness.
I know in preparing for tonight, you also had mentioned that there were moments when George Bush Sr., where he was trying to show care and it didn't work, and that you saw a little bit of an echo there. Let's look at this and what history can teach us tonight.
Just some kind of a useless exercise, but message, I care, we're trying, we need help. We have had and will continue to have, I think, sound and sensible programs.
Check.
Yeah, when people heard that, what they heard was message, I don't care. I mean, who actually speaks like that? But to be honest, to be fair to George Bush Sr., that was just a clumsy thing that he said. Same thing with Jimmy Carter's Malay speech. It was very clumsily worded. It was poorly worded in that speech. What happened here was not a matter of clumsiness. What happened here was that Trump just blurted out the actual truth. He doesn't care. And, somebody who doesn't care would do the exact things that Trump has done, which is inflict tariffs on people, inflict this Iran war on people, which nobody asked for. He says it was about national security. Well, it doesn't seem like national security has improved. It's not a mission accomplished in Iran at all, and I don't see how it ever will be at this rate. And he didn't even care enough about what would happen economically to the country.
And it's hurting congressional Republicans because you could tell they know it's bad because they don't say, yes, let me explain. They just say, no, it didn't happen. Take a look.
The president thinks about Americans' financial situation.
Every time I talk to him, he's focused on affordability.
I didn't see that.
He's got a lot on his plate, including the war.
When we get the Strait of Hormuz reopened, that will alleviate a lot of pressure with gas prices and other things in the economy.
Check.
Yeah, I think congressional Republicans are living in a world, or they want to live in a world, where Trump is significantly more popular, where he was just a year ago after inauguration, around 50% approval after winning the election. That is not the world we live in anymore. And I think one of the things that's really interesting about the way Trump has navigated this and Republicans have navigated this is that Trump has created for the last 10 years, a reality distortion field. It comes from Star Trek, the idea you create this illusion. It's something con men are very good at. It's something that Trump was always very good at. Creating an illusion of success, creating an illusion where he alone can solve the problems. That field, the reality distortion field, is now failing. And there are a couple of reasons why it's failing. But I think one of the biggest is something you talked about in the last segment, Trump's own physical decline. He simply cannot deliver the message the way he used to. The illusion is simply not matching the reality that people are seeing at the pump.
Yeah, economic failure met with message failure. Che, thank you. We'll be right back.
Prices of expensive stuff getting even more expensive. I feel so sorry for these young families out there that's trying to raise youngins. Some of these mothers are single, are dads. Some of them are trying to raise 2 or 3 children towards buying books, buying clothes, buying tennis shoes, buying food, making sure that they're doing their homework, and etc. And there's just so much unnecessary strain on the American people right now that it's not even funny. And for the American people to deal with this on this level and put up with it makes me wonder that maybe they are all doomed. Maybe they all have been brainwashed. Maybe they all drank the Kool-Aid pertaining to this type of abuse. And that's exactly what it is. It's abuse. And the thing about it is, it's not just harming and hurting the American people, but people all over the world. And our allies can see this, and that's the reason why that they're turning their backs on us and basically thumbing up their middle finger at us and saying, no way, Jose. And it's almost as if Donald Trump is using some sort of reverse psychology and deliberately trying to run America off into a state of bankruptcy. I wish that I had a solution to the problem other than me bowing out and not voting for the Republican or the Democrat Party, because the Democrat Party ain't the same party that it used to be. But at least they did try to put forth effort in caring about their senior citizens and caring about the people that's got mental illnesses and the people that's got bad physical impairments to the point that they can't work. Now, there's no doubt there's some people out there that is pleaded the disability card or the insane card, knowing good and well that they're not crazy and knowing good and well that they could be doing something, even if it wasn't doing nothing but sitting and answering the telephone for 4 or 5 hours. You know, I just got through getting off my feet today. I started about 8:30, and I had to I finished up around 3 o'clock. I still hadn't got it all completed, but I was up on my feet yesterday for about 10 hours, up on my feet the day before about 8 hours, and I hope that I get to the point that I won't have to just rely at the age of 65 my Social Security. I hope that I'll be able to get some sort of a second job to be able to stay in the swing of things and stay active and go, because that's how I was raised. We was not raised as children and sitting around and not doing nothing, because I guarantee you at any time of the day we was either tinkering around on tractors or tinkering around on cars, or we were plowing, or we was harvesting, or we was putting in row crops or something. You know, there ain't too many people my age today that can say that they picked cotton by hand, putting it in a sack. Well, I remember those days whenever we done it for a living. I think it was something like 7 cents a pound or maybe 10 cents a pound or something like that. I mean, there's so many adventurous ideals that could better the people's lives, not just in America but the world. And to think that we've come to this stalemate in seeing all our jobs leave because nobody was concerned about us. Like I said, I think it's pretty dirty for somebody to spend a nice living over here feeding their pockets, and all of a sudden they go and get a national pass. That way, whenever things get down and dirty in America, they can get on their airplane and go to maybe El Salvador or maybe go to somewhere in South America or Mexico. I think that's really, really dirty. And if the truth be known, there ain't no telling how many people right now that are planning on doing the exact same thing. I mean, people want to point their fingers at doomsday preppers and say, well, see, they're overreacting. Well, see, they're paranoid. Well, how about these people that got money? You think they're going to hang around? They ain't going to hang around. They've swiped the cream off the top, and now they're going to run. They're going to abandon us.
You met a hitmaker, Grammy-nominated rapper, entrepreneur Rick Ross has really defined the hip-hop soundscape with anthems you know or you've danced to at weddings and bar mitzvahs. Hustlin', The Boss, BMF, I'm Not a Star, the Wider Maybach music series. He's celebrating the 20-year anniversary of the debut album that changed everything. Port of Miami, Florida boy, what's up? He has also led what has now become a really popular move where brand name stars launch their own brands of businesses. He's got a fleet of Wingstops, a spirits business, a car show, a real estate portfolio. And here in Newsland for political junkies, I should mention Ross is an Obama-level artist, joining then President Obama.
You know, whenever I was growing up in this area, it was a common thing to hear where people like in Chicago or Atlanta or Memphis or St. Louis, where the cops was on the take and basically you could get away with whatever. Well, for the past 25, 30 years, it ain't just been the cops on the take. It's been the judges, it's been the sheriffs, it's been law enforcement, it's been the judges, it's been, I think I mentioned that, it's been the lawyers and everybody else towards being on the take. And they have basically bamboozled the American people.
Primary, it's going to be a general election crowd and Republicans.
You know, I thought about something recently about where has all my money went? Where has my savings went? And I got to thinking about it. Well, Dennis, you didn't have a drug problem, so obviously your money didn't go to all drugs. I got to thinking, well, Dennis, you didn't have an alcohol problem, so obviously your money didn't go to all the alcohol. Didn't have a gambling problem. Well, Dennis, you didn't have a gambling problem, so obviously all your money didn't go to gambling. No, my problem was I had a support problem. I had a support problem with the corporate churches in America, to the point that they wanted to teach on the Antichrist. They wanted to teach on the 7-year tribulation. They wanted to teach on various things that the Jesus Christ Jubilees Windmill Ministries has been involved in now for the past 30 plus years. But whenever it come down to them actually activating it and getting in behind it, they didn't want no part of that. So that's the reason why, even to this day, what they're preaching and what they're doing and what they're saying is two different elements, to the degree that I know that they're full of it and that they don't want peace. We're talking about the elders. We're talking about the people basically from their mid 40s on up. These was the people that has failed in not being supporters. So basically, I had obviously some sort of a PR problem with a group of people over here that talked about do as I say, but don't do as I do. Hypocrites. Those that was not real in their form of faith in following after Christ. It's really sad. As much time and interest, as much loyal work that I put out, wearing out at least 3 or 4 different vehicles, wearing out my body, being out thousands and thousands of dollars, going from different places, preaching and teaching and telling people about this message, toward trying to warn them ahead of time, and still to this day don't have no supporters. Does that not speak volumes about do not throw your pearls before the swine? You heard me. That's out of the scriptures. Christ ordered his disciples, do not throw your pearls before the swine. Well, see, all these years, I've been throwing my pearls before the swine. They was unappreciative. They didn't support my theories. They didn't help me. They didn't support me. They didn't get in behind me. And now look at the hell that the world is turning into pertaining to our rivers and our aqueduct systems and our lakes and our levees and everything else basically going south, including our judicial system, including our savings that we thought that we had in being working loyal, that we would have some sort of a savings that the government would take care of us on down the road. I really do not think that my granddaughter right now that's soon to turn 3 years old, I really don't think that there's going to be a Social Security by the time she gets old enough, the way things are going. I really don't think it will be. So it makes one bid the question, well, if there's not going to be a Social Security, how come I'm paying Social Security taxes? How come if the cops ain't going to stop all this illegal activity going on, which I don't blame the cops, don't get me wrong, I do not blame the cops because of what's going on. I blame the system. I blame the broken down judicial court system. And I'm going to tell you where all my money went. All my money went towards trying to run from these heathens, being a moving target, going from place to place, and being incarcerated because they wanted to study me. They wanted to take me before a panel and psychoanalyze me. Well, that takes time. They have stolen over 2 complete years out of my life in being studied because of my religious belief and my patriotic belief. I've been violated on both accounts, beginning at Homeland Security, beginning with Secret Service in 1989, whenever my son and I first stepped out into the eyes of the public and going before the people. Now you tell me what's wrong with that message. They're talking about peace, but their words are futile. They don't want peace. All these sex movies and all this paranoid stuff pertaining to witchcraft and sorcery, and I mean I could go on, and you wonder how come your lakes are drying up. You wonder how come your infrastructure is basically breaking apart. You wonder how come that we're $40 trillion in debt. Stop it. Stop it. Stop trying to entertain borrowing from Paul to pay Peter, knowing good and well that you ain't never going to pay Paul back. You had no intentions in paying Paul back. You know, when we come to the honor system, you can just basically knock that in the head ever since basically the 70s. Whenever we seen what the bankers and seen what the government was doing and seen what the oil industry was doing that caused so many people to go under, you can knock the honor system in the head because of that. People has lost faith in their own governments. People has lost faith in their politicians, especially whenever they lie so severely like Donald Trump did by telling everybody, oh no, gas is going to go down, the inflation, jobs are going to come, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and just pumped everybody up. And then now look what's going on. It's awful. It is absolutely awful in what's happening right now.
Climbers have reached the summit so far, but the mountain has already seen several fatalities this season, including the death of Pura Gyaljen Sherpa, a young guide who slipped and fell into a crevice near Camp 3. Here to discuss all of this is the author of the fantastic book Into Thin Air, John Krakauer, and several other fantastic books, I should note. But anyway, John, you published Into Thin Air 30 years ago, and the book details your harrowing experience.
Vanish into thin air. Boy, that's what's happening right now with our economy, isn't it? We're vanishing in thin air. Like I said, I'm not fighting for myself. I know at my age, what good is it going to do to try to change the policy laws of today for myself? But I will fight for my granddaughter, and I'll fight for other people's children and other people's grandchildren as well. And that's where the baby boomers have let us all down. That's where they let us all down. They didn't just let They didn't just let my generation down, but they have let generation after generation after generation. And a lot of these people, you know, they're set. You know what I'm saying? They counted their pennies just right. They was loyal to a company. They made wise investments, and they got a little bit of cash. But to think that those same people are going to abandon us absolutely makes me sick. To think, after them raking the cream off the top, that's the showing of generosity towards your patriotism, towards leaving the United States once the United States becomes inflicted with total chaos? Wow. And you wonder how come people has lost faith in their system, in their government? Wow. You can play stupid all day long. You can plead the fifth. You can plead insanity all day long, but just because you plead it doesn't make it so. And just because you do it out in the open doesn't make it right. It's time for the American people to rise up and fight. It's time to change the system and change these attorneys and change the judges and have it where whenever people does commit heinous crimes that they stand and they get exactly what they got coming to them. And it's time. One thing that Donald Trump did do, he did change the motive of people going after the Christians, because I know if this happened in my life, beginning with Homeland Security Secret Service, if this began in my life in being gouged, taken advantage of, railroaded, how many other people out there that's went through similar scenarios, either by local government, state government, or federal government? But they keep shutting down factories, and they keep making empty promises, and they keep not fixing my pothole, and they keep jacking up the national debt. When is the people going to stand up and fight for the things that are right? I'm going to end my case by saying that, by saying good luck to all of us. God bless America. God bless our troops. And may God have mercy on all of us and blessing our endeavors towards which way that we go from this moment on. Because I promise you, these educated fools that went to college and basically learning how to be legal con artists or legal imitators and acting like that they care about us and acting like that they want to change for the better, they can keep all their college, they can keep all their BS, because if that's what it turns them into, I don't want no part of that. I don't want no part of that, to the point that it jeopardized my salvation with my Lord and my Savior after I pass from this world to the eternal world. I don't want no part of that. And anybody that does want that part of that is basically already doomed. They've been given over to a reprobate mind, and they believe a lie, and they've been damned. And I can honestly say the court system in the majority of our local counties here in America, not counting state, not counting the federal, are absolutely damned for the most part. They're damned to the point that they only care about their little system and their little situation and how can you feed me? How can you take care of me? What's in it for me?
Wait for it. Being a vegan. Let's go out front.
What's in it for me?
Good evening to you. I'm Sarah Sider in for Aaron Burnett. Out front tonight, breaking news. Donald Trump moving closer to ordering strikes on Iran. Our White House correspondent Elena Treen has learned this. Sources telling her that before Trump left for Beijing to meet with President Xi Jinping, he was closer to moving ahead with plans to strike Iran than he had been in weeks. Trump arriving at the White House just a short time ago, facing pointed questions about where his war in Iran stands after 77 days. Even Trump-friendly Fox News asked this tough question.
So why are we where we are? Did you underestimate the pain tolerance that Iran has?
I didn't underestimate anything. We hit them
unbelievably hard. Look, we left their bridges, we left their electricity capacity. We can knock that all out in 2 days. 2 days, everything. We left Cargill, and other than, I said, hit it, except for the valves where the oil comes in.
Over the now months of this war, the U.S. has hit Iran hard. According to the Pentagon, more than 13,000 targets were hit. But despite the onslaught, more than 60% of Iran's missile launchers are still intact, according to CSIS and according to the New York Times. Iran also restored access to 30 of the 33 missile sites it maintains along the Strait of Hormuz. And when pressed on Air Force One about Iran's resilience, the president turned to insulting reporters asking the questions.
What would the use be of repeating the bombing? You did it for 38 days. Well, no, we did. And you did not get the political changes in Iran. I had a total military victory, but the fake news, guys like you, write incorrectly. You're a fake guy. I actually think it's sort of treasonous what you write. Who you with? Oh, fake BBC. You mean the ones that put AI in my mouth?
Elena Treen is out front live outside the White House for us tonight. Elena, you have breaking news on Trump's current thinking when it comes to the war in Iran. What are you learning?
Yeah, Sarah, look, when President Trump, well, prior to departing Washington, D.C. for Beijing, I was talking with my source and they told me that the president had been closer to wanting to move forward with combat operations in Iran than he had been in weeks. I remind you that throughout the ceasefire, he really had been prioritizing this idea of diplomacy, but he's been so frustrated lately with the Iranians and what he believes is this division within the Iranian leadership about how to move forward, and that really preventing them from coming to the table and agreeing to a compromise. And so what happened was, from the conversations I was having with my sources here at the White House and throughout the administration, they said, we were willing to see what happens in China, see, if there's any sort of conversation between the President Trump, and Chinese President Xi Jinping that could change this at all. But of course, we are now seeing, we just saw moments ago, land back here at the White House, Sarah, and it doesn't appear like there was any significant breakthrough when it comes to Iran. You heard the president arguing that, she agrees that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, that they want to have the Strait of Hormuz reopened, but nothing along the lines of having the Chinese talk to the Iranians about trying.
Nothing concrete is what you're saying.
Really, the question is going to be whether or not the president is still in the same mindset that he was when he left, and if he is, he has a big decision to make. I will say as well, from the conversations I've been having, there are differing views in the White House about how to proceed here. There are some who believe that targeted strikes in Iran is the right path forward to try and find a conclusion to this war. There's also those who believe that diplomacy still deserves more time. And so I think it's going to be very interesting to see now that the president is back in D.C. when he meets with his team and what they decide to do on how to move forward here.
Elena Treen, great reporting from you tonight there from the...
That is who his most important constituency is, because as he said this week, I don't think about anybody. What was the exact quote? I don't think about Americans' financial statements. I don't think about anybody. And that was reflected on who his guests were in China on behalf of the United States. So not a great foreign policy week for this country.
No, you both have just nailed it. I really don't have anything other than to add, except that this was a crap show from day one. It ended as it was going to end because Donald Trump was in it and doing it. And the reality of it is, the ballroom is the most important thing this man has to offer America. And now he wants to take $1.7 billion out of our pockets to pay himself and criminals and insurrectionists and thugs and a whole bunch of people who every day find some part of Donald Trump they want to attach themselves to. So we'll just leave that at that. But I thank you both for being so well spoken on, because where I wanted to go. Anyway, joining us at the table, Sky Perryman, President and CEO of Democracy Forward, and Rich Logis, founder of Leaving MAGA. He's the author.
Pretty well eliminates the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few now, doesn't it? Especially whenever you put the wolf in charge of the hen house.
that the president seems to be imagining. I mean, just on its face, there's the baseline obscenity of this lawsuit. There is the undeniable conflict of interest, Donald Trump suing his own IRS. And then there is this reporting today from ABC that he has still, it seemed, found a way to benefit. How is it possible that any of this is legal, Sky?
It's not, but I don't want to bury the lead here, because you'll remember when he filed the lawsuit, what he wanted to do was he wanted to settle the lawsuit so that he could get $10 billion. We came on this show and we said that isn't going to happen. The judge isn't going to let him do it, and he can't do it. And just like every other harebrained scheme that this administration tries to do, you have him now backing off of pocketing the $10 billion and saying, now I'm going to do $1.7 billion in a weaponization fund. That also is not going to be lawful. There's going to be a number of questions about who this commission is. We've shut down a number of commissions at Democracy Forward in suits and those types of things. But I want to make sure, because he wants to scare people about a retribution agenda, and he wants people to believe that he's just so powerful, he's going to be able to pocket all this money. And he has backed off yet again of what he intended to do in the first place, was to pocket the money. Now we'll have to go fight this fight as well. But I do think it's very important that people see that this administration is not actually as strong as they want you to believe. And that's one of the big pieces of this story that I think is getting a bit lost.
Rich, I was thinking today when I saw this story about, interestingly enough, Whitewater and the Clintons. And you remember that? Okay, that was over tens of thousands of dollars. It was something that occurred in 1978. It was then investigated again by Republicans in 1994. It led to a 4-year investigation. It literally dictated the Republican policy on Capitol Hill for much of the 90s. That was in the tens of thousands of dollars. This is in over $1 billion. It looks like a total carve-out and giveaway to Donald Trump. The $1.7 billion settlement would have no oversight. It's essentially a slush fund where he can give away to whoever he wants. How do you think that plays for the fiscal, conservative, non-MAGA Republicans?
Well, let me just preface by apologizing to viewers for my past MAGA activism and my support of Donald Trump. When Trump ran, I fell for the lies that he would drain the swamp and would root out corruption, and he was correct in pointing out the graft and the fraud and the abuse. But what he has done is he has continued
add insult to misery,
himself and his own family at the expense of the American people. I realized that Trump was lying and that I had allowed myself to believe these lies, which eventually led to my leaving of MAGA. And I think that there are more than ever who are in the MAGA community who right now are having doubts about their support for Donald Trump. We have a nationwide billboard campaign, and our message is very simple on the campaign. It's having doubts, you're not.
And to think that this government don't hold its leaders pertaining to its presidents accountable even after they're out of office. Well, no wonder they're going to get up there and do whatever that they want to do. No wonder they're going to get up there and embezzle and lie and cheat and do this and do that. They know that there's not going to be no consequences. I've never seen America being run like this. It's awful scary, really.
Demarcation, when there is one lie or one betrayal too many, it starts to make them wonder and question if this is a movement that they can continue to support. And I think that Trump continues to abuse his office and the office of the president recklessly, and I think that many in MAGA are starting to recognize that.
You know, Rich, you touch on a lot of...
I want to say this, then I'm going to cut this film off. Whenever Donald Trump went to China, I was told that whenever the cameras basically turned off all their equipment, it was the leader of China that looked at Donald Trump and said, we have plans of entering into Japan, and if there's any type of intervention coming from America, there's going to be serious repercussions. And it set Donald Trump back so badly that people seen the expression on his face that he had that deer in the headlight look, like, oh my God, what did you just say? You just heard it. You want to play all these strong arm tactics, regardless whether it be Russia against Ukraine, regardless whether it be America against South America, Yugoslavia, or are over there in this bunch of the crew, and then you don't want to do a follow-up towards completing what you've done. You've injured the bear. Donald Trump has injured the bear. And if those people don't hate us, they hate us now. Because I guarantee you, they're going to brainwash their people in thinking, well, it was America that brought all this on to us. And the whole time it was them that was standing up toward taking a bit of courage in their show of hands in protesting against this type of activity. And it was miscalled, obviously, because whenever they went in there with Midnight Hammer, that's whenever within days, or not even days, within hours, they should have went ahead and went root, hog, or die. Root, hog, or die. Now, they'll tell you the reason why that they didn't do that was because, well, we wanted just to see if they'd pick back up where they left off. Not only are they going to pick back up where they left off, they're going to be twice as more aggressive. You've injured the bear. You wounded him. God bless America. Good luck to all of us. So long.